Hey, Ray.
Locksmith.
Mike. Hey, Bob.
4:59, so that's close enough.
Okay, Sammy. Pressure is on, Sammy. The pressure is on, Sammy.
Thank you.
So, Dale, this has been deleted, right? Number 3. Number 3's been deleted.
Ready, Sammy?
Yeah.
That's okay.
All right.
Maybe you mean set the clock back now.
Our system gets updated tomorrow, so I'm excited.
That excites you.
Yeah, and we won't be having all these problems,
Maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say.
right? Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the regular scheduled meeting for the Sylvania Township Board of Trustees on May 3rd. Calling to order at 5:02. And Mr. Simcoe is present, and he'll take the roll.
Yes, Mr. Generline. Here. Mr. Mahoney. Here. Mr. Crandall.
Here,
Mr. Simcoe. Here.
could we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing is approval of the minutes.
Did I see minutes come out?
No, there was not.
Okay.
Oh, there was not. Well, it's going to be pretty hard to approve. We'll carry that on to the next meeting. And those would be the minutes of April 19th. And we'll carry that over to our next meeting. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There's 2 deletions. Item number 3, the public hearing for the zoning change has been withdrawn at the request of the applicant. And under executive session, the personnel, the employment, and the zoning department has been postponed for another meeting.
Okay, first up is the zoning department, Darrell.
Good evening.
Evening.
My first item is the public hearing for the zone change request at 4885 West Alexis Road. The applicant is requesting a zone change from RA suburban residential to R3 residential for the undeveloped parcel there. He wishes to develop multifamily units on the site. The applicant also owns the adjoining vacant lot to the west, which is already zoned R3 residential. The combined acreage of the 2 lots is approximately 1.2 acres and would allow 9 to 12 multifamily dwelling units. The Sylvania Township Land Use Plan advocates suburban residential uses for this part of the township, and that's defined as 2 to 5 single-family dwellings per acre. The areas to the north and west are recommended for commercial uses by the Land Use Plan. No site plans are required for zone change approval. However, any multifamily development would be required to go through the the project plan review process. Sylvania Township zoning staff recommends approval of the requested zone change for the following reasons. It is unlikely that single-family dwellings would ever be constructed along a main thoroughfare such as this segment of Alexis Road. R3 zoning would be an adequate transitional buffer between the current single-family uses to the east and south and the commercial uses / zoning to the north and west. It should pose no adverse effect on nearby properties, and the adjoining parcel that would be combined with the subject parcel is already zoned R3 and could presently accommodate multifamily dwellings. The Lucas County Plan Commission staff recommended approval, as did the Lucas County Plan Commission itself. They voted unanimous to recommend approval. The Sylvania Township Zoning Commission recommended denial by a vote of 3-2. And that's pretty much all I've got on that.
All right, is there somebody here representing the owner?
I do not see the applicant present.
Okay. Anybody that would like to speak toward this request?
Do we open a public hearing? Oh, yeah.
Well, I think it says public hearing, so I'm assuming we opened it,
Okay.
and then there's a resolution of approval. But does anybody wish to speak for or against this request? Okay. I think I'll close the public hearing then.
There's something, John.
I'm sorry, I missed her, or him.
Come on up, please.
No, okay.
Okay? I think I already closed the hearing, but we could certainly reopen it. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 16056, which is to approve this change.
I had some questions. Should I have brought that up during the public hearing?
No,
Probably
yeah,
not.
I
Yeah,
think,
okay.
no, but let's get a motion on the floor. I'll move approval of Resolution 16-056 so we can discuss it.
Second.
Discussion? I listened to the zoning meeting minutes last week, or 2 weeks ago? Well, when was it? Or last month?
Yeah, April
Yeah,
13th,
April
I believe it
13th,
was.
okay. And it was about an hour and a half of some really good discussion. And I guess I'm assuming you guys might be here for this project? Okay. And I not here having you guys speak, I know that you guys you do want to speak. Okay. Okay, great. We'd love to have you come up. So
Now?
Yep.
that'd be great. Thanks. Yeah.
My name is Deborah Condon. I live at 4914 South Arvilla Drive, which is one of the lots adjacent to the properties in question. The neighbors, first of all, there were some problems being notified about these changes taking place from
heard that.
Lucas County. Many people in the neighborhood had no idea that this was going to come about. When we finally did talk to some of the neighbors, we informed each other. We were never notified by Lucas County. When we finally the neighbors talked to one another and informed each other about what was going on. My husband and I went downtown to the Lucas County zoning board meeting, and then many of the residents did go to the Sylvania Township zoning. Our concern is that it is not a huge piece of property to begin with, and to put 12 units in there. We did meet with Mr. Abed last week. He came to our house. There were 15, 16 other neighbors there, and we talked with him. I don't want to say that it's a trust issue, but we're concerned that it could be rezoned, and then for whatever reason, his condo/apartment plans fall through, and we end up with literally an apartment building back there. We are concerned that we don't want, for lack of a better term, public housing back there. In the weeks or in the months previous to this, there have been 3 burglaries, whatever, in the neighborhood. I read in the paper, I think over the weekend, that there was another just around the corner from us. So our security is involved here. Many of the residents have concerns because right next to this particular parcel, it's all commercial. And it has changed hands over the last few years. And now the commercial properties that are there, I don't know if they are keeping in mind that they back up to a residential neighborhood. And trucks in the middle of the night, or trucks early in the morning, bright lights, all those kind of things are now affecting the neighbors who are adjacent to the property that's next to this. Like I said, he showed us plans that are similar to the, I think it's Main Street Cove or one of those, and he said he wants it to be like this. And I will say he was very, I don't want to say accommodating, but he did listen to us, and he listened to our concerns. But the neighbors really have a stake in this. So I guess that's our concerns. Do you have any questions?
I have one question. Are you this property right here or here, do you know?
We're next to it. Sylvania Township still calls it a greenhouse. It's no longer a greenhouse. It's
This is
a
over
animal.
here?
I think it's that white thing, yeah.
Yeah.
We are more behind that. We're not right
Oh,
behind.
you're here. All right,
Right there.
Yeah, we're there.
okay, so you're right here.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And I will say that previously there was a home on that property. It was full of trees. It was, it was nice. And the last person who tried to change the zoning came in, knocked down the house, took out the septic tanks, and removed the trees. So, we have concerns.
Daryl, is it correct that it could be switched? Once you get the R3 zoning, I would assume that would allow apartments, is that correct? Could you address what's allowed under R3?
Yes, R3 zoning would allow multifamily condominiums or apartments as well as duplexes.
But the limit, did you say would be 5 units?
Yeah, based on the size of the parcel, depending on what the configuration of the units would be, he could fit between 9 and 12 units in there. If he were to have one building and then a parking lot, it'd probably be closer to 9 just because the parking lot is going to take up a lot of space. What he was talking about doing was similar like what's on McCord Road south of Sylvania, the ranch-style attached garage, 1.5 story apartments.
Well, I'm more worried about her question of what if he's not the developer and something happens, you only have the zoning to control.
Right, if it's already zoned R3, if somebody else were to purchase the property,
I
they
think
could,
that was your concern.
they could develop multifamily on that property.
One other thing I forgot to mention. The other concern is they're not going to be purchased condos. He's going to rent them, and he says they will rent for like $1,500 a month, which to me seems like a lot of money to pay for rent. But what if this doesn't work out? What if he can't get renters? If it was a case where it was going to be property owners owning a condo or whatever you call it, then they have a stake in the neighborhood. So those are our concerns.
Can I ask you a question also?
Sure.
What would you like to see there?
Woods.
I know. I hear you.
Well, and something else. I'm older and my mind takes a
It's
while
all good.
sometimes.
I'm glad you're up front talking.
Some of the neighbors are concerned. One of the neighbors mentioned that they had not purchased another house because of the septic tank issue, and that they took the septic tank out, so they're going to have to run sewer lines from down the road, not a real long distance, but a distance, and that would have an effect on all our septic tanks.
There was a project years ago on the corner of Wakeford and Alexis Road that was a bar that's now an O'Reilly's. You guys remember that, where the O'Reilly's is there?
I know.
And you remember when that was, people were, there was a softer zoning that was to go there. I'm not saying this is going to happen here.
All right.
But what change of administration, change of zoning people, change of trustees, and and it was in the minutes. Be careful what you wish for, because I wouldn't want an O'Reilly's in my backyard either. But that's where they ended up going,
Right.
against a lot of discussion at the time. Was why did we should have maybe taken what they wanted first, was like an animal care center or something like that. It didn't get zoned, and then it eventually change of administration, changed, and then O'Reilly's came. I'm not saying this is the site for an O'Reilly's, but I just want to ask you that question. What
Condos.
a condo, owner-occupied condos,
Owner-occupied condos, right.
and the market, okay.
I mean-
All right. Yes, I appreciate you answering the question.
I thought a lot of the concern at the zoning meeting was the density.
Yes, that was the other thing.
I mean, what,
I think one of the zoning people even brought that up, that they were going to put 12 units on that piece of property.
does that exist anywhere else in the township, Darrell? Do you know that smaller property of holding that many units?
I can't think of one offhand. Going back to the one on McCord, that's a larger parcel. I think that's 5 or 6 acres with, I want to say it's 33 units, five buildings housing 33 units. I'm not good at the math there as far as how that density equals out, but again, 12 would be the maximum, really, that he could put on there, depending on the configuration. And regarding the condos, that's still multifamily dwellings. That would still require an R3 or above zoning to put condominiums on that property.
Now, if you were to get the zoning, you still got to come in with a site plan.
Right. He would have to go through
Site
project plan review.
and landscaping, and buffering.
Right.
Whatever, we'll still have the opportunity to.
Right, it would be sent out to Lucas County engineers, the sanitary engineer, Lucas County Plan Commission, Fire Department.
He can't proceed with just this zoning.
I'm sorry?
He can't proceed, once he gets this zoning, he's got another step.
Right,
Site
right.
plan review.
John, I live, near that area, go by it a lot, and it does seem like a small piece of property for 12 units. And even the one that Darrell's talking about is like 5 or 6 acres and 30 units or 5 buildings, a building an acre. And if there's about 5 or 6 units in a building, that means 5 or 6 units per acre, and that's slightly over. It seems awfully packed in, and many. I'm not saying I didn't hear who the developer was, but many developers, by and large, more units means more revenue and income, and so it just seems pretty intense to me. And I don't know if the trustees can limit the to 5 units per acre or maybe 6 or 7, so it's not so intense. I don't know, but I just throw it out because it does seem like a lot of units on a small piece of property there, and that generally then sometimes results in.
Well, it's more cars, more noise,
Yeah.
more everything.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah,
So-
that's I guess I'm getting at.
Yeah.
If there's children in there, there's no place to play almost because you're right on Alexis Road there, which is
Yeah.
high volume of traffic. And,
Well, she's got a big backyard.
play in your backyard.
Hey, Bob, can we put you on the spot?
Yeah,
Bob's-
we'll put
No.
the fence down.
Well, the alternate to that, Dave,
Yes.
is probably commercial. And
Yeah,
I'm not sure in my mind,
Yeah.
you can say You do need a buffer between the commercial and the residential there.
But here's my concern is a couplefold. One, he's not here. That's kind of an important thing. I think you need to be here to talk about why you're here. Number two is I haven't seen a site plan. And, whenever we've approved a zone change in a neighborhood like that, and I'm not saying this is intrusive, but it kind of is. I mean, it's in your backyard. We've always kind of looked at a set of plans. We've always had somewhat of a feel. Now, Bob, can I put you on the spot with a question? Because Bob was on the zoning board. Has anything changed from your meeting, what's been presented last month to what there is today? Okay. And Bob, and I don't want to speak for you because I kind of loaded a question. I spoke to you today about this, but your concern was that we don't know what it is. I mean, if we were able to put some constraints on it, if we were able to tighten it up a little bit, maybe a PUD, maybe an actual plan that we know where things are going to actually lay. I mean, I'd feel more comfortable with that personally, but. And I think, Bob, you're well versed at this, been doing it a long time, and I respect a lot what you have to say. So that's my concerns about why.
Did I misunderstand? Did the zoning commission approve this?
No, they recommended denial by a 3-2 vote.
Oh, I missed that. Our zoning commission did?
Right. The Plan Commission recommended approval.
The zoning commission recommended denial?
Correct.
Somehow I missed that. Thank you.
Could I say one last thing?
Sure.
Number one, yeah, we'd like property owner condos. We don't want commercial, number one. But also the fact, that was the thing we asked for, is could you show us something of what you want to do? I will say, when he came to the neighborhood meeting, I mean, he didn't have plans. He said they cost money to get them done. He told us what he wanted to do, but that's what we wanted to see. We just want to know, what are you going to do with it? And then we asked if we could come to this next meeting that you hold about where they bring in the plans, and we were told no, that those were closed to the public. So
You're talking about the site plan development,
right.
The actual, when the
Right.
county comes in and fire hydrants and all that. That
right,
is typically
and he would show what he was going to do, and we asked if we could come, and they said those were not open to the public. I think they should be.
Could Darrell, could the applicant come back for PUD zone? Could we? Or am I wrong?
If this were to be voted on and denied tonight, he would have to wait 6 months to come back with a new zone change with a PUD or whatever. If
he would have the option.
I'm sorry?
He would have the option of PUD zoning, right?
Right.
Rather than R3, correct?
Well, it'd be an R3 PUD.
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting, I guess. But he'd have to wait 6 months, correct?
Right.
Any other
What
questions?
if we didn't vote on it? Could he bring it back sooner with a PUD that have a plan? Or does
I'm not sure, I'll leave that to Darrell, but I believe so. If we didn't take action, Darrell?
If you were to table it,
Yes.
like say to the next month's meet or a
Well,
month.
so he brings back a PUD plan and meets with the neighbors and shows it to us to get a better comfort level with it.
That's a good question. I would actually have to check with our legal counsel on that. I mean, it sounds reasonable, but I don't want to say for sure.
Maybe a suggestion, we table it. I'd say for 30 days in the meantime, see if that would save him the 6 months, I think. But he'll have to expend some money
Yeah.
to
Got one other
give us a
resident who
PUD.
wants to speak.
But
Yeah.
then the neighbors would know exactly what we're talking about, and we would know.
I think everybody would have a better comfort level seeing something. Like we said, 12 units on that parcel seems pretty high. But
Well, it'd be the two parcels, but Yeah, the only thing is, I think if he comes back with a PUD, that's actually a new zone change request. He's asking for an R3 PUD as opposed to straight R3. I'm pretty sure he'd have to start from the beginning as far as going before the Lucas County Plan Commission and the Zoning Commission as well.
You would know in 30 days.
I'm sorry?
You would know the situation in 30 days.
Oh, yeah.
If we tabled it.
Sure.
I think we may have another person
Oh, I'm sorry.
like to address the board.
My name's Craig Dennett. I live at 4904 South Arville. In that big red spot, I live right behind him.
Did you say you face Alexis?
No, I'm right behind him.
Right here,
Oh,
Craig.
right
Right.
here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right. When we were talking, we're not against him. When we were talking to him, he said that he's going to spend $1.5 million to build this thing up, which is a lot of money. But a lot of stuff that we were bringing up, he never knew about it. Like, catch basin, he said he's going to put a center road down there and the drainage for water and all this. So, we started thinking and talking amongst each other, and we're like, if he doesn't, he said he's a builder of another development, big homes. And if he doesn't know his facts, like bringing the sewer system down, he said something like $20,000 to tie into it. Well, when Birmingham Limbo Company came down and wanted to put their business there, it was $70,000 to $80,000. And then he also told us that if he can't build all 12 units, it's not a moneymaker for him. So, again, we're not against him. We just want to see something that, my money comes hard. And I, bought this piece of property so I can open my windows. And the way that bird sanctuary next to it, it sounds like the Amazon, all of our neighbors. Plus the glare off that roof now is because they cut all those trees down back there because he's worried about trees falling on his place. Well, they haven't replaced anything. Now that sun is baking on both of our houses. But what can you do about it now? But again, we're not against them. And we just want to know what's going on. He said a story and a half, so it's almost like a townhouse, which would be fine. And again, Debbie said, we don't want a block building. We don't want commercial. I paid too much money for my house just to let it get run down. Thank you.
Daryl, he was invited tonight, right? He knew the meeting was tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, I would assume so. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Would you two mind, before you leave, though, signing the book here with your name and address, both of you that spoke? Thank you.
Well, I guess the question is 6 months, how long is that by the time you get engineering, by the time you go back to the planning commission, by the time you come back to zoning commission, by the time you come back in here, that's 4 months. Whether we vote on it tonight or postpone it, Daryl, you're saying that,
Well, we have a motion.
I know that, but you're saying if it goes back down, if it becomes a PUD, they got to start the whole thing over. They go back down the planning commission, they go back to the zoning commission, then they come back here. Well, there's 3 months right there.
Right.
Except, the only exception would be, he may not come back at all if we table it. I don't know. I'm worried about, he just says, oh, well, that's it. And then we're still faced with a future commercial use.
Right, I
of
agree.
unknown.
I agree.
It sounds like with a little work here, this might be something that's workable to the surrounding properties. I hate to lose that opportunity. If we table it for 30 days, then at least
See what
Darryl
shakes
will come back and say, or the developer can come back, or he may drop it. I just take, I don't hear the neighbors saying, this is unworkable. I'd like to give them time to see if they can work it out. I don't know the developer. Has he developed anything else in Sylvania Township?
I don't know that he's a developer. According to his business card, he's a realtor.
Oh, okay.
He's with Key Realty One.
Well, he
So
may
as
not
far
be-
as being a developer per se, I don't know. I don't think he's an engineer.
He may be trying to market the property, I don't know.
I'm okay with pushing
With
30 days.
tabling it for 30 days, you could
John,
make
what do you
it.
I mean, certainly having him
Make
here to
amended
answer questions
motion.
would, I think, give us a little bit more comfort. If we saw a drawing or a rendering of something, I mean, and if he's looking at spending $1.5 million, he can spend a couple grand and get some drawings done and a site plan for a few $1,000s, I would think. I mean, that's a big investment just to kind of, for us to assume what he's going to put there.
Well, and the neighbors can see exactly what.
I mean, I just don't want to get it rezoned. He can't afford it, doesn't figure it out, and decides to put apartments in here.
Yeah.
That's my problem. I'd like a little bit of, it's in the neighborhood, it's in a great neighborhood, I just like a
And
little
I'd like to
control.
know if he's really, don't he ask who the developer is?
He may not even have a developer at
Well,
this
that's what
point.
I'm-
Maybe him, yeah, yeah,
Right now, he's the applicant,
yeah.
he's probably the real estate agent, he's the applicant for the rezoning.
Well,
We don't
he
know.
owns the properties.
So we don't know who the developer actually may be.
Right.
So what do we do now?
I would say an amended,
Close it without a vote?
I'm sorry.
Let's see what I want to talk
Oh, you want to speak, Bob?
I have a suggestion.
Well, would you get up and would you also then sign before you leave, Bob? Thank you.
My name is Robert Sabo. I live at 9640 Schooner Court, Sylvania. I agree with Darrell. You want to check with the attorney. If I'm coming here asking for an R3 zoning and everyone's having a problem with it, I can reduce it in front of you today to an R2 zoning and you go ahead with this. But if an R3 zoning and I'm going to add a PUD to it and you're advancing it, that's going to have to go back. If you table it, you can table it for a month until you check with the attorney, like Darrell said. That'd be a good move. That's all I wanted to.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you. But I need an amended, or a different, I think we ought to have an amended motion if we're thinking of table.
Correct.
I'd like to retract the resolution number 16-056, zone change request from RA to R3. Do we do that like that, or?
Well, why don't you maybe like withdraw the second and withdraw the motion and then just move to,
Okay.
how about if we do that?
Right.
Yeah.
Just withdrawing the motion and the second,
I made the motion, I'll withdraw it.
and Neil, you second?
I second
Oh, John
it.
second,
I'll
okay.
withdraw it.
All right, and then
Well,
you
I
could
think-
make a motion to table it for 30 days, or to the next, to our
It'd be the
Next-
June 7th meeting.
June 7th, okay,
So instead of saying 30 days, I'd say the June 7th meeting.
okay.
Who
Okay.
made the motion to table?
I'll take it.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Thank you so much, and please, if you could, be sure to sign in before you leave, if you spoke. Thank you. The next item was taken off the agenda, so we'll move to the road department.
Good evening. I just have one resolution, number 16064, I'm asking approval for, is to award bid and enter into a contract for the 2016 Sylvania Township OPWC resurfacing project. Project went out to bid and came back under estimated cost, and the best and lowest bidder was Bowers Asphalt and Paving Incorporated.
Any questions of Rob?
Where's Bowers out of? I've never heard of them.
I believe they're on a
Harrisburg, I think. How many bidders? Did you have multiple bidders?
We had two bidders, Bowers and Gherkin.
I'll have resolution 16064 to bid and enter contract with Bowers Construction.
Second.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks,
We'll
Rob.
move on to the fire department. Chief?
Good evening. I have two resolutions for your consideration tonight. The first resolution is 16-058 with two minor adjustments to it. One, it should read employee retirement effective date is May 6th, not May 7th. And the effective date of hiring the new full-time employee to replace that individual should be May 7th and not May 8th. I apologize for those changes. This is to replace a retirement that actually the gentleman's last day is tomorrow. Bud Crosby will be retiring tomorrow. His last shift is tomorrow.
I'll offer Resolution 16-058, authorization to fill vacated firefighter/paramedic position due to retirement.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Thank you. Second resolution is 16-061. As you know, we received a government grant to replace a lot of our fire hose. Some of that fire hose has almost reached its life expectancy, but there is a fire department west of here, Delta Fire Department, that would like to have that hose, and we would like to give it to them so they get at least a couple years' use out of it.
I'll offer Resolution 16-061, authorized to offer 1 3/4 hose to Delta Fire Department.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chief, thanks. I think it's great if we can help another department.
Good.
Hey, there was something on the news last night. There was a fire right here at Main and...
Yes, sir. Right down the street, right next to, just down from the VI, next to those apartments. It was a fire started in a bedroom. Crews got there very quickly, got the seat of the fire, put it out very quickly. There was one minor injury of the occupant, but everybody else was fine. Yes, sir, last time.
Was it the apartment building? Or
No, it's the house right next to the apartment buildings. Single-family dwelling.
Thank
Yes.
you, Chief.
Thank you.
Police Department, I don't believe they have any items.
I have Chief Carroll here. Any questions for him?
Thanks for attending, Chief.
Chief, you have any comments?
This is easy.
Next time we'll have you conduct the meeting for us.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Administrator, John.
Yes, I have a resolution 16062 to accept a street lighting petition and set a date for a hearing. It's for Eagle Creek Plat 4, and we have the petition, and we're asking for a hearing for that petition on June 7th at 5 o'clock.
Is this all one resolution?
One
or
resolution.
two?
It's one.
One resolution. All right. I'll move Resolution 16062, accept the street lighting petition for Eagle Creek Plat 4 and set a hearing.
Second?
Mr. Genowine?
Yep.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
My next resolution is 16063, and it's a resolution to adopt new and amended township policies. I believe this was sent out by email to the board members, and I'll go briefly through each one. The first one is a new policy for recording device policy, and this sets the policy for employing audio or video recording by employees in the workplace. The next one is a recording of board minute policies. What we had in our policy was that anybody that wanted to record this meeting, whether the way that the policy was written, by cell phone, camera, whatever, they needed to call this office up 24 hours in advance in talking to legal counsel on that they feel that wasn't a requirement. Somebody could come in here and record it, just turn their phone on without the 20, and that would be legal to do and okay to do. So we're just deleting that from our policy where they have to notify us 24 hours in advance. The trustees still have the right, if it's noisy or if it's cameras, they can tell them where to be in the room here, so they still have that control, but they just don't need the 24-hour notice to come in and record, such as a news crew or a person. The next one is a business expense reimbursement policy. We're just updating this policy to the IRS guidelines. The reimbursement will be $55, up to $55 per day, but you must have receipts to get the reimbursement. We only reimburse with receipts. And the next one is a severe weather policy, and in this policy, basically what we've done is, it's in red, you can see where people are to go in case of a storm. And basically what we did is changed it for the fire stations, where they should go, and also for the police station too. It just tells, the policy tells you where to go in case of a storm, like in the halls or in a room or wherever.
I had sent Susan a follow-up email, like asking her more about the recording things.
If you have questions, since she wasn't here today,
Yeah.
what we can do is, if the other three are okay, we can,
Yeah.
these are not pressing that have to be,
And I know one of the stipulations was, if they felt unsafe or pressured into doing something, I just didn't quite, phones, unfortunately, turned into cameras and
Right.
are so readily available, and again, if something does get recorded legally or illegally, if it proves a point or doesn't prove a point, it's going to be tough to, what's our policy really intended to do here? And
okay.
I had questions there, and
That's the recording device policy you're talking about?
yes.
Once again, these are not pressing, so if it's okay with the board, we'll pass the other three, and we'll bring this back for the next meeting after your questions are answered.
And again, I'm not opposed to it. I think it's right. I don't want everybody walking around with cell phone cameras, but we've got police officers with cameras on these days and dashboard cameras. And what we excluded and included on that, I asked her, what are we gaining here and what are we losing? And I never got a response from her, so I don't.
She's off sick.
Right,
Probably
so-
what happened.
Yeah.
That's okay, Neil.
I'm fine with that.
So what I do is I request to amend the resolution 16063, deleting the recording device policy, which we'll put on later on, and passing the recording of business meeting, reporting of board meeting policy, the business expense policy, and the severe weather policy.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Simcoe.
I just have three things, and the first really is 16-057. It's appropriation of the police department for new IT contract charges and to advance out line items so we can advance funds basically for a bulletproof vest. That's what this is about. Advance out to the grant fund.
I'll offer resolution 16057, appropriation from encumbered balance.
Second.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
And next I have is just a follow-up resolution 16-059 in advancing funds from the police fund to the grant fund to buy the bulletproof vest. We have to go through this little we've done this before and kind of a fair amount of paperwork, but I don't know, we're getting these grants, so.
I'll offer resolution 1605, advance of funds.
Second.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
And lastly, resolution 16060, it's a transfer of funds, and where we've got our first half property tax settlement, and so we've had an influx of, roughly half of our funds that we get, for the year, and then we're able to make some transfers in now to fund some of the accounts that we set up when we passed the budget. And so you'll see there's a number of things on here that we are passing, and it's some fairly large pieces of, fairly large amounts of money, but we're just funding these things to fund in the budget that was passed by the trustees. So we can get about spending the money.
I'll move resolution 16060, transfer of funds.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Dave, before we move
Yeah.
on, I'd like to thank Scott. Scott's been updating us before our meetings on these items, so we have a little background.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, Scott.
That's all I have.
Next thing is the chairman's report. I got a report. This is, if they have any questions or anything, this is the time. Also, you received John's report, the administrator. If there's any questions or anything, John will address those. If not, we'll move All right. Hearing of the public, non-agenda items. We don't have anything. Next, the chair will entertain a motion for executive session.
And once again, this is just for the investigation of a complaint against an employee in the police department.
At 5:45. Second?
Mr. Crandall made the motion, Mr.
Yes.
Genowine seconded it, and Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Why don't you stand here for just a minute?
How you doing? Hey, Sammy. See you, Ray.
No, you're gone.
Thanks.
Thanks for attending.
Oh, no problem. It's this easy, I'll be here.
Okay, Sammy, we're ready.
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session at 5:55.
Second.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. I'll make since we're not taking any action on the executive session, I will move to adjourn at 5:56.
Second.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes, we're adjourned.
All righty. How you doing, Mike?